successfully. Now, without any further ado, we'll move towards our very first business session, that is Circular Economy Roadmap for India. I would like to introduce you to the speakers of this session. Shri Tushar Jani. I would like to request Shri Chirag Panchal to present him with the memento and bouquet. He is the Senior Program Director at Center for Environment Education, CEE, Ahmedabad. Our next speaker is Shri Aditya Handa. He is the founder of managing director. He is the founder and managing director. I would like Shri Anas Sheikh to present him with the memento and the bouquet. He is the founder and managing director of Abilene Group. He holds a managing degree from Baskin College. I would request our moderator to take over the stage.
Welcome back to the business session 1. The session is on circular economy roadmap for India. So India's budget 22-23 recognized the importance of sustainable growth. In sync with the circular economy dreams, the government formulated the Battery Waste Management Rules 2022, Plastic Waste Management Rules as amended in 2022, E-Waste Management Rules 2022. These rules promote the utilization of waste generated in line with the circular model by setting out target waste disposal standards for stakeholders. The move will pave a way for more formalized transition from linear economy to the circular economy regime in India. The budget also recognized the action plans formulated across 10 sectors that Sunil Bhai was talking about, and the member secretary sir was also talking about. Much still needs to be done, and we are very happy that we have with us two stalwarts working in the field in the form of Shri Tushar Bhai Jani and Shri Aditya Handa. May I invite Shri Tushar Bhai to kindly come forward and make his presentation, please.
Namaskar and good morning to all. Thank you, Mr. Gaur, Mr. Joshi. And I would like to start my address by expressing my gratitude and thanks to Saket for having invited me, although at the last moment, but nevertheless I'm here. A brief introduction about myself, that I've spent close to 40 years on the industry platform, starting as a research and development scientist in biotechnology with the Cadila Group of companies, where I put in 16 years into pure play R&D. After that, I migrated to a leading diagnostic company, and I changed my field from research to management. Spent 7 years there. And somewhere around the beginning of this century, I shifted my base to FICCI, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Sunil Bhai, who was with us this morning, was one of the mentors that I had there in FICCI. Worked a great deal with him. Sorry. And after putting in 7 years there, I went on my own as a sustainable development consultant, was working mainly for the German International Corporation, GIZ, which went on till about 2016-17, when I immigrated to USA, but I decided to come back and was doing a few chota-mota programs on the sustainable development front. And about 2 years back, I was invited to Center for Environment Education, CEE. Most of you may know since you are localites. And I joined there as Senior Director Programs for Industry Initiatives. If you know, CEE is one of the oldest institutions on environment education front in the country. And it was founded at the behest of the Ministry of Environment and Forest way back in 1984, when my director Kartikeya Sarabhai was probably one of the only think tanks who could support the government on the hardcore education for environment, starting with the primary schools, secondary schools, beyond that. And then actually environment as a subject and as a field started proliferating in our country. As the time passed, the organization also grew and started doing projects on sustainable development. Quite a few have been done. When I was with FICCI, also I was associated with programs that were mentioned by Sunil Parekh sir. Programs were done in Naroda, after that Vatwa, Narol, and majority of it was out of Vapi, where we dealt with wastewater problems and kind of advisory body through GIZ. Now, having said so much about myself, when I joined CEE 2 years back, my first flagship project was through UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, a very prestigious project which was initiated on the request of Ministry of Textile, Government of India. And I will not dwell much onto that, but that was called Roadmap for Sustainable Textile Hub in India, where we designed and developed a true roadmap wherein different clusters of textile industry in India, how they can imbibe the sustainability path, how can they get into circularity. And based on those credentials and experience, now we are working on a much larger project, which is called Approaches to Circularity in Textile and Apparel Sector in India. So although I am a sector-specific person as of now, circularity by and large deals with most of the verticals. In fact, it deals with our day-to-day life. India is in a unique position today where we are trying to develop ourselves on the sustainability and circularity front. We have had century-old practices right within our own house, in our surrounding, in our upbringing, which are a part and parcel of something called circularity. We may realized it, we may have realized it, we may not really be aware of it, but we are still practicing today. I'll try and quote a few examples as I go on. Yesterday, late afternoon, when I was talking to Dharmendra Bhai, when he invited me on board, I wasn't really sure what I would talk about because till about 11:15, I was not even free. And then I started thinking, although I had given him a topic of circularity and innovations, something very close to my heart, I wasn't even sure what I will discuss, what I will show. So what I decided to do was to share with you our knowledge on the circularity front and how innovation has been helping the stakeholders in our projects or otherwise when we pass through this complex phenomenon called circularity. I'll share just a few slides with you, but it's like a ball game which nobody understands. For my present project, I did a 45-day survey throughout the country where most of the textile clusters are present, like starting with Ludhiana, Panipat, NCR, Faridabad, Gurgaon, Delhi. Then on western side, Maharashtra and Gujarat, and southern side, Tirupur, Coimbatore, Bangalore, etc. Wherever there are major clusters, I visited all the places. When I'm talking to people, when I'm talking to industrialists and the right from the management to the shop floor supervisors or workers, the word circularity means hardly anything. You know, when we are talking about circularity and different aspects of it in forums like this, we enjoy talking and listening because we are a few chosen ones that have at least shown inclination to learn and understand. But I'm sorry to say that those that are really going to contribute to the scenario, to the domain of circularity, in our country are today not even much aware of it, except the mega companies like Aditya Birla Group or Reliance, Arvind Mills in Ahmedabad, where they are self-sufficient to look after their needs, their responsibilities towards environment. They are well-staffed, well-equipped, knowledgeable, and they can take care. But what about the others? What about the SMEs? India is a country of small and medium enterprises, and most of our economy is based on SMEs. So when I'm talking about industry and I'm talking about cutting a sorry figure, I also get encouraged to disseminate, to make them aware. This is my project, this is my work. My institution does that, and like me, many others, including the Government of India, Niti Aayog, and various ministries have taken this task of educating, bringing in awareness, capacity building, knowledge sharing, etc., etc. So through this platform today, I'm going to share a few things about circularity, which I learned over a period of 2 years when I started working on circularity-related projects. It has been already said a few times in the morning session what is linear versus circular economy. Now we know in linear we take, make, distribute, and use and dispose. It's a straight line. Where something is made, it is used and thrown away or forgotten. But the resources for which came out of some place, nothing is made out of vacuum. So whatever product, whatever goods that we are using or talking about are made somewhere through something. Most of it comes out of either Mother Earth or they are made using chemicals and substances within manufacturing units, which came from Mother Earth again. And then at the end, we throw it back in the shape that we produced, which is useless, what we call is garbage. It goes to the dumps, either landfilling sites or those heaps of garbage that we see near Narol. So the linear economy, although made us flourish a lot, almost all our economic development was based on linear economy in India, just like any other country. But at the end, when the cycle is nearing, there is no use for that product or that set of goods, we end up dumping it someplace. So it starts getting accumulated. We have retrieved something from somewhere and then we ended up wasting it, wherein there is a lot of value, there is a lot of substance in it still alive, which can be made use of. Vis-a-vis, when we are talking about circular economy, it also takes about take, make, distribute, and use. But then it does not talk about dumping it someplace. It talks about reusing it in the cycle. If you see on the screen, this is a circular value chain wherein we believe that whatever is produced once inherits a lot of good properties which can be used again and again to make either the same product or it can be useful as a raw material, as a resource for some other production cycle. The history of circularity is not so very old. If we talk about last 200 years of economic development and how the world has flourished, how India has followed in last 3 or 4 decades. Compared to that, circular economy in practice is hardly in its infancy, I would say. It is still in the under shape. The concepts are known, the requirement is known, but the implementation or the practices are yet to come. A few things have started. We talk about it. Those are the case studies. They are not day-to-day routine life for us. So very quickly, this has been already dictated. It's been shared with us what is circular economy. And I would rather go to the bottom half where it says the difference between a linear and circular economy. It's an evolution of the traditional linear economy of take, make, dispose, which fails to fully utilize the potential of many products and services. It could help tackle the climate emergencies as we see today, and Sunil Bhai also talked about it. It decreases resource scarcity and dependence on single-use plastics, which is a mammoth task today to get rid of single-use plastics today, and it's a mission by itself. It enhances productivity and increases business sustainability. So by getting into circularity mode, we have a lot of benefits, and the benefits do not come cheap. One has to invest. As on today, we may not believe in, as Indians and as buyers that are very cost conscious, we really do not believe in spending extra for the same thing for which we are possibly paying amount X. If it comes as recycled and if it is X plus 1, we would immediately object. But we don't know the value of that plus 1, which is taking care of our future, which is maybe hundreds of times more expensive otherwise. It's going to cost us a lot more if we don't spend now. Circularity describes economic, technical, and environmental systems that aim to eliminate waste and maximize the reuse of resources. The first intention, the first target therein is to minimize waste. There is nothing called waste. As Mr. Davda, I suppose, said in the morning that waste is nothing but a resource lying in a wrong place. We did not want to, and even today we do not want to realize that. The dustbin in my own kitchen has different types of garbage, could be wet and dry, collectively or separated, which has value in it. I simply give it to the garbage collector, but then there is a cycle which starts and makes money out of it. Same way it goes for industrial waste, same way as it goes for agricultural waste. Waste, as in waste anywhere, is a resource lying to be harnessed. Circular systems make use of design, recycling, reuse, remanufacturing, and refurbishment to create a closed loop system. In that circle, what you see is not just make something and remake something of similar kind. There could be several offshoots of different circles wherein your waste can be used by others as resources, or you may derive some other value out of your waste, but nowhere it's going to the landfill, except in few cases where the life cycle of that particular resource is exhausted so much that there can be nothing retrieved out of it. Now, based on the ideal of preserving virgin material, reducing waste creation, and maximizing waste reuse. If we keep on harnessing the virgin material, what would happen? We'll be exhausted one day. Our earth will be exhausted from all the virgin materials. And at the same time, we would have accumulated a lot more for which we have no space to keep anymore. A space which can be otherwise used for agricultural uses, for habitats, etc., maybe is being used for dumping garbage today. Now, why did I select the topic circularity and innovations? Throughout the day, we'll talk a lot more about circular economics or circularity, and we heard very eminent speakers in the morning also talking about it. Very few would touch the topic of innovation along with circularity. Now, what is innovation? It's a practical implementation of ideas that result in the introduction of new goods or services or improvement in offering goods or services. Now, we must, first of all, identify what is a discovery, what is an invention, and what is an innovation. No innovations are inventions of true sense. Innovations are modifications, improvement of something that exists today with us. I innovate, I have innovative ideas as we call. So these are developmental ideas, step by step, you're going ahead on positive side. Invention is something totally new. Discovery is something which you may find accidentally or purposefully, intentionally, but you find out something. In innovation is a set of thoughts which leads you to a changed property, a changed product, or a new product out of something which otherwise was there in the surrounding but was not new. So that's what is going to come very handy when we are talking about circularity. For every step in circularity, you don't need to invent. You just need to innovate your processes, your product, your approach, and put in these thoughts right from your vendors, if you are a buyer, your suppliers, you manufacture, you have a customer, everywhere you have to innovatively put this idea that circularity is the ball game and that's the end. Beyond circularity, do not think of anything because we are paying a price for that. And Mr. Sunil Parekh very clearly mentioned where is it that we stand today in terms of reduction of the temperature, global temperature rise we are talking about. We are nowhere. In fact, we are exceeding and will continue to exceed unless we go for innovative ideas in our manufacturing and consumption cycles. Circular innovation framework. Now, these are about 5 different types of innovations which I'll be talking one by one. First is partnership innovation. When we are talking about circularity, it is not just the product which towards the end of its cycle gets renewed, remade, recycled. No. Innovation starts at 5 different places and all that culminates into total circularity. So when I'm talking about partnership innovation, what do I mean by partnership innovation? Circularity inherent in the idea of the circular economy are new practices of cooperation and collaboration with wider business ecosystem. If I'm planning to change my production cycle by using non-virgin raw materials, I'll be wanting to procure that. I may not have it. I make something, I sell it, and I wash my hands with that. But my customers somewhere are accumulating that to be sold back or to be put back in the value chain so that from somewhere it comes to me again. Now that somewhere is not my original vendor maybe, not my original supplier. I need to partner with others which are accumulating the used goods, which are accumulating raw material for me now, as I call it, which is second-hand. So those kind of partnerships will generate, will develop. I may have a regular supplier, I may have a regular vendor whom I will ask to supply something which is of my need today for working upon circularity. So he has to change. But my partnership has evolved. My partnership came to a situation, came to let's call it a platform where he also has to do some innovation, I also have to do some innovation, and this innovative partnership came out of it. Driving businesses to look differently at their existing partnerships and to consider new kinds of cooperation that may not otherwise have existed before. Now, if you look into the plastic recycling chain, as of now, it starts with door-to-door segregation, then it goes to a collection center. From a collection center, it gets sorted out again, then it goes to a material recycling facility where it is recycled into something else. Now, these could be sequentially in one place, or this could be broken down. Collection happens, segregation happens, maybe sorting and all, and then it is bundled and sold somewhere else, and that somewhere else person sells it to the recycler, if it is not in a single value chain. But then, between all this, there needs to exist a partnership. Every day I can't go picking up the phone or Googling who is my supplier today. No, these are regular production lines. You need to have your suppliers and your value chain in place day one onwards. So these kind of partnerships will be innovative. Then there is process innovation. Thinking differently about business processes like sourcing, production, logistics, post-production distribution, and many others. This can often yield opportunities to enhance circularity and reduce carbon. When I say reduce carbon, it's carbon footprint. And often with greater efficiency and business value. Now, what does this mean? I need to innovate my processes. If I'm using a raw material which is different, I'm not sure my product will be of the same quality as it used to be. So I'll need to put in a lot of innovative thoughts, changes in my production cycle, so that more or less I get what I used to make. Otherwise, the acceptance by the consumer would go away. Since it is very much in the infancy stage, the whole circularity ballgame, globally, there are hardly a few hundred products which are made out of used raw material or are recycled, refurbished, and we know even a refurbished equipment or a refurbished appliance may not work as good as the original one. But we need to bring it at par with what originally was, and because I'm spending in extra money for doing all this, my price sometimes goes high. I'll give you a very simple example of denim jeans. All of us have sometime in our life worn denim jeans. How many of you know that there are denim jeans available which are made up of absolute rags? You know, rags which are thrown away otherwise. It's different that nowadays the youth wants their jeans to be torn first day. I'll buy, I'll spend and have jeans which have because that's fashion. But otherwise, one would wait with a new pair of jeans till that phase comes कि 3-4-5 varas પહેર્યું ને ફાટી ગયું. In India, the best part is we don't really throw away things that easily. Most of it, everybody's house has a storeroom or nooks and corners in house કે જૂની વસ્તુઓ પડી હોય આપણે ત્યાં ઘરમાં ક્યારે શું કામ લાગી જાય ખબર નથી. And with old clothes, the best thing is it becomes a duster in our પહેલા તો જૂના કપડા કે થોડાક પહેરેલા કપડા we give it to family members. એની પછી we give it to somebody who is needy. એ બી ના કરીએ તો ઘરમાં વાપરીએ તો સૌથી પહેલું ડસ્ટર બને ઝાપટીયું, નહીં તો પોતું બની જાય. It becomes a mop, or it becomes a duster for the cleaning the kitchen platform, etc., etc. So we make maximum use, but then somewhere it becomes a rag and is thrown. Now, when it is thrown, even if it is cotton-based, which is biodegradable, we are very happy. I'm wearing khadi, I'm wearing cotton because it's biodegradable and environment-friendly. No, sir. Cotton is the least of the environment-friendly fiber today. Why? Yep, thank you. It is very, very water intensive. Cotton crop takes 30 times more water than any average crop. And it requires a lot of pesticides and insecticides, which then gets into your earth and spoils the whole food chain. So cotton is good to wear, but not good to make. So same is with the polyester. It is synthetic, made out of hydrocarbon monomers, which comes from the petroleum industry. So that's one type of plastic, so which is also not good. So what is good? We'll come to that. When I am talking about process innovations, most of the process that I look at should be on the principles of lean manufacturing. Now, those from the industry would know what is lean manufacturing, and lean manufacturing leads you to maximum utilization of your resources and minimum production of waste. But we are still talking about waste through lean manufacturing as well. Then comes product innovation. Maximum opportunities of circularity lies here in product innovation. For new products as well as for those which are being recycled and made. One example I would like to give that it's not so easy for an industry to start the process of circularity, the process of sustainability. Many times when I go to the industries, I'm asked, where do we start from? What should be my first step? When I'm not even aware of what sustainability or circularity is about, how would I know what is my first step? Can I spend a few lakhs and engage consultants for that? No, sir. Start with something which is within your reach. Start with something which you can do. જેમ આપણે ઘરમાં કરકસર કરીએ છીએ એ રીતે ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીની કરકસર શરૂ કરો. And these are called resource efficiency and cleaner production tools. આખી કંપનીમાં રિસેસ પડે તો લાઇટ્સ બધી બંધ હોવી જોઈએ, એસી બંધ હોવું જોઈએ. વેરી સિમ્પલ. તમારી આજુબાજુની જગ્યા ક્લીન રાખવી જોઈએ, પાણી જમીન પર ના પડવું જોઈએ. All this ends up saving something. When the entire industry follows that, energy intensive lights હોય તો એમને એલઈડીમાં ચેન્જ કરી નાખવું પડે. વન ટાઈમ એક્સપેન્સ, પછી ચાલે બહુ લાંબી, અને તમારા 30 થી 40% ઇલેક્ટ્રિસિટીના બિલ જ્યારે ઘટી જાય ત્યારે આપણને બહુ આનંદ થાય છે. These are small steps towards sustainability. So think of resource efficiency and cleaner production, RECP, as your first step towards becoming sustainable. As and when you start learning, you can then think, you can talk to someone about circularity and how you can contribute to that. Most of the industries reuse, recycle and reuse their wastewater, which is most of the time first step as we see it. Then they harness the energy, heat energy, and use it back in the cycle. That's also a first step. Packaging innovation. A lot has been spoken about packaging now because plastics are in vogue negatively. Everybody wants to save themselves from plastic minutes. So when about 15, 20 years back this problem started, most of the FMCG companies, what they did, they started giving us refill pouches. Starting with, let's say, tomato ketchup or even ghee, name it. Soap solutions, detergents, you get them in pouches. So the original bottle which you had bought, keep it with you, bring this refill pouch, dump it inside the original bottle, and you have your product with you. Now that is innovation. You have you have to say that I'm using a plastic which cannot be ridden with. I can't get rid of it. So what I'll do is I'll use a user-friendly pouch. There is no user-friendly pouch plastic. Even if I use something beyond 70 GSM or thick plastic, 120, 150 GSM carry bag. So it is not that I'm improvising upon myself. I'm following the same footsteps. That thick plastic bag will also be not biodegradable. So I have to think of innovative approach. What should I use? What should I do that my contribution, my carbon footprint decreases instead of remaining the same or increasing? Last is proposition innovation. Most revolutionary. This is something which is new to us now. Most revolutionary of the innovation types is proposition innovation. New business models, ways of getting products to customers, and ways of using or owning. See, people of my age, when we were young, we did not have Amazon, we did not have Flipkart. we did not have plastic cards. My first credit card, I remember, was used on a machine which says cut, cut, you know. So what is engraved there will get an impression on a white paper roll through carbon paper on it. 30 years back. And today I have maybe 3 or 4 different debit and credit cards in my pocket. I can do banking through my mobile. But it has become so much easier for me. But at the same time, I am spending so much. My extra income helps me. સુનિલભાઈ સે 4 કપડાથી ચાલતું હોય 4 જોડ કપડાથી તો 20 જોડ કપડા ના રાખવા જોઈએ. જોકે હું પણ રાખું છું કેમ કે મારાથી જૂના કપડા છૂટતા નથી એટલે ભેગા થતા જાય. જ્યારે કોઈકને જરૂર હોય ત્યારે જ હું આપું છું. આઈ ડોન્ટ થ્રો ઇટ ઓફ કોર્સ, બટ ડુ આઈ રિયલી નીડ? My question today is, how do we start circularity? What should be the first step that we do? Try and understand and practice it in our own life, in our own house. Then we'll talk about the society, we'll talk about the industrial area or industries. The mindset, somebody said about the mindset that I think Mr. Davda said that we need to change our mindset a little. Sir, I beg to differ. We need to change our mindset a lot. It's not at all easy to change habits. My parents also tried. I tried. I may try it with my future generations. Habits once formed are very difficult to be changed. So we have to balance our habits versus our future. Can I stop using? I don't know how many of us sitting here today do not have any absolute plastic on them. We all. The habits don't change. I've been to conferences where it's a cloth. They don't use plastic cover anymore. It's just a cloth. You can write with a ball pen also on top of that. Sorry. But these are true practical facts. Circular economy inspires us to look at old with a completely new way. This is the paradigm shift. We need to see things differently. When we do, we'll start doing things differently. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, right? Shri Aditya Handa.
Good afternoon, namaste. Thank you, Dharmendra Bhai and the organizers for inviting me here today. This is a topic very close to my heart. Let me start by painting a picture for all of you. In India as a country, we use about 10 billion tons of materials a year. This is a new way of thinking about things. We started talking about GDP, then we started talking about carbon footprint. Now in the age of circular economy, there is a language of materials. So we use 10 billion tons of materials a year. Now where do we use these materials? So almost 2 billion tons of materials are used in the construction industry. Almost 1 billion of this is only sand. So sand, aggregate, cement, concrete, bricks, all of that put together is 2 billion. Another 2 billion is food, fodder, forestry, all of that. Another 1.5 billion is energy resources, coal, oil, gas, all of that. And these are the major ones, so on and so forth. There are metals, other minerals, etc. So on one side, we are either extracting or growing these materials. Both of these are pollution-intensive processes. To extract, you need to mine. When you mine, you need energy. You end up not only polluting the environment, but you end up polluting that land, the habitat around it, sometimes water pollution, etc. Similarly, when you grow stuff, you need land, you need water, you need fertilizer. That fertilizer has been mined. So if you keep extracting and growing stuff, there is no end to this pollution curve that we are now seeing rising exponentially. On the other side, we have almost 600 million tons today recorded, probably with unrecorded it's more than 1 billion tons of materials which is wasted. And this is either burnt, or it is biodegraded, or it goes to a landfill and it stays there. So on one side we are extracting, on the other side we are wasting. This wasted material in India today takes up almost 50,000 acres of land. 50,000 acres of land in urban areas mostly, because landfills are in urban areas, is land worth lakhs of crores just with garbage lying there. So anybody thinking logically can't seem to think that this is right. On one side you keep extracting, one side you keep wasting. There are projections that by 2030, with the growing economy, we will need 20 billion tons of materials and we will end up wasting 2 billion tons of materials. So this is simply not sustainable. Now, why does it happen? It happens due to lack of circular economy, as has been said earlier. But why is there this lack of circular economy? It seems completely illogical, yet it happens. So it happens for a few reasons which have historical context, which now need to change. The first reason obviously is economic viability. Till the time it is cheaper to extract new than to recycle old, there will always be a preference unless that difference is priced in. That difference needs to be priced in some way, either by taxing the extracted product or by incentivizing the recycled product. In some way, that pricing factor needs to come in. And I strongly believe that here comes the role of state, role of government. Free markets don't price in social benefit, right? So, and hence I don't think it is a subsidy, it is fair pricing. You are pricing the extracted resource without pricing in the environmental damage. How is that possible? Right? Whereas you are equating it by pricing it back. So it is actually fairness. It is not subsidy as many people call it or think about it. So that is one major thing. The other major thing is adaptation or just the hassle of adjusting to a new product. So if my plastic excluder has been set to a virgin plastic parameter, why should I now change it to accommodate a recycled material? Or if my concrete making has been set up to new sand, then why should I change it to accommodate manufactured sand? Right? And here comes the role of mandates. This is possible when it is mandated. As a country, we have to say that we have to reuse. We can't go on like this. And therefore, there is a need to mix 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever we can, of recycled material in all the materials we make. Today, it is possible to envisage that almost 20 to 25% of construction can happen through recycled materials. Almost 60 to 70% of plastics can be recycled. More than 80 to 90% of metals can be recycled. The list can go on and on. Whatever can't be recycled directly as materials can definitely be recycled as energy or as fertilizer. If you recycle it back as energy, again, you are extracting less coal. So you are completing the same loop. It is circularity in a different sense. It is what is also called thermal recycling. So we have this opportunity. Now this opportunity really rests on two important pillars. And here I will correlate our own company's example. We have been working in the waste management circular economy space for more than 5 years. Recently we commissioned our first plant in Jamnagar, which is a waste to energy plant. This is a plant that uses 650 tons of municipal solid waste a day, generates 7.5 megawatts of power. In this process, it scientifically disposes all these 650 tons of day. This plant also recycles plastic, recovers plastic. This plant recovers metals. This plant recovers glass. We plan to recover other materials. We plan to use the wet waste also to generate biogas, to generate fertilizer. If you look at what this project has done, it is very interesting that Jamnagar as a city for the next 20 years now, because we have planned capacity for 20 years, for the next 20 years, there will not be a single kg of municipal waste going to landfill. In fact, the mountain of waste that existed in Jamnagar is now flat. There is no mountain of waste in Jamnagar. This project alone reduces the carbon footprint of Jamnagar citizens, Jamnagar as a city, by 10%. So it's already 10% problem solved in terms of carbon footprint. It powers 5% of Jamnagar's homes from green power generated from their own waste. Here I want to talk about the power of technology, because these type of projects are enabled only by technology. All of us know that anything that has energy, you can recover that energy. But the challenge is, what is a efficient and a safe way of doing this? So in the last 10 years or 20 years, there have been several new technologies that have been developed, be it high temperature combustion, which we are using with state-of-the-art emission control, be it anaerobic digestion for wet waste to recover biogas, be it technologies to make biochar. There are technologies to recover materials which never existed. In the last 5 years, we've seen a growth curve like never before. So for example, all of us know that plastics are easier to recycle if they are segregated. If you have different types of plastics separately, so PET separately or HD separately, LD separately. Now this is not always possible because manufacturers make products which are composite. So if you have a bottle of water, the bottle is PET, but the film is a light density film. And the cap is usually a high density plastic. And there are good reasons for it. Because the bottle is made to hold the water safely. The cap is made so that it can stack, because when you transport it, you want strength. And the film is made to convey a brand in the cheapest possible manner. So it is not easy to tell a bottle manufacturer that you will use only PET. Not always possible. Now there are technologies where you put in this bottle of water on a conveyor, and there are optical sensors which will pick out the cap separately, the film separately, and the PET separately. So these sort of technologies are enabling a recycling revolution like never before. In terms of the policy framework, which is the other important pillar in this, we are seeing as a country now, we are adopting regulations like solid waste management rules, hazardous waste management rules, construction and demolition waste management rules. There are NGT orders, there are CPCB guidelines, there are GPCB guidelines. So more and more we are coming to a robust framework of how a circular economy should operate. The recent very interesting addition to this is EPR, because this EPR is a departure from policy framing. Policies were framed so far with boundaries of manufacturers till their gate, largely. So if I'm making a product, then from raw material to finished product, I need to follow certain compliances, comply to emission norms, environmental norms, etc. For the first time as a country, we are saying that the manufacturer is responsible for the end disposal of their product. So if I have made a bottle of water, I need to ensure that somebody has used it, it has gone to the dump site, but I need to ensure that it was disposable at that dump site. And I need to buy a certificate from somebody who disposed it in an authorized manner. So this is a groundbreaking regulation. Europe has had this regulation for 20 years. We have just started experimenting with it in the last 2 to 3 years. Now it's been brought in with tire waste, with e-waste. It's going to be brought in with other things. And I think as a philosophy, it's a great philosophy to adopt, because we are telling a manufacturer that your responsibility doesn't stop here. You need to create, close the whole loop. And this is leading to huge changes in the industry. For example, companies are saying that for primary packaging, we might need new plastic. But for wrapping films, secondary packaging, crates, storage pallets, etc., why can't we use only recycled material? Because if you use recycled material, you don't need to buy that certificate. So it's viable. This is what I mean by pricing in the environmental benefit. This regulation does that. Lastly, I would like to say that, be it municipal waste, industrial waste, this is really a shared responsibility for everyone. So far, many of us feel that I have thrown my garbage in the bin, now it's the responsibility of the municipality. In many cities, there have been experiments to charge a user fee for waste, and almost nobody likes to pay it. It's very strange to think that on one side we look at, a mountain of waste and say, why does this exist? But on the other side, if a household is asked to pay 150 rupees a month or 100 rupees a month, only 10 to 20% houses pay it. This has been seen in various countries, in various cities of India rather. In the West, it's common to have a user fee. In the West, it's common that if you have not segregated the waste company will not take it. And then it is up to you to take that waste and drive to a location and dump it there. Can you imagine any of us having to take a waste bin in our vehicle and going to Piran and having to dump it there? But they make people do it. And this is what brings discipline. There are days of the week that today recycles will be picked up, tomorrow wet waste, etc. If you miss that day, it's gone. So there is a discipline factor in community. This voice needs to come from community. we will all get the waste management systems that we deserve. If we change our behavior, there will be better systems. There is will, there is policy, there is technology, there is private enterprise, there is an ecosystem ready to do this. But there needs to be collective will in order to do this. So I wanted to leave you with this message. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. From the audience, anyone is having any query or questions, this is an open forum. Feel free to ask or share.
Anyone wishes to ask a question to the experts here? Yes, we have the first question here.
Sir, my question is with Handa, sir. Can you explain some few lines how your journey start from this waste to this up to this level?
Sure. So I think, there is my personal journey. I worked in our family's pharmaceutical business. Then I went to the US for my further studies. There I picked up a lot of concepts about where environment, sustainability, everything is going. I had an opportunity to stay back there, but I thought it's better to go back and try and do this here. Back in 2009, when we spoke about circular economy, people really used to laugh, to say, what is this concept? What we used to talk about municipal waste, and people didn't know. It was very under the radar. It was not in the newspapers. We started with using agro waste to make biofuels, forward integrated into agro waste-based power plants. And around 2014-15 is when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan came. And I still vividly remember, I'm sure many of you remember, Honorable Prime Minister from Red Fort, for the first time a leader said that as a country, cleanliness needs to be a priority. And many people didn't like it, but I thought it's good. As a country, we are a dirty country, we are a filthy country, our roads are littered with garbage. And what is the problem in acknowledging it and trying to solve it? At that point, we said, let's start work on municipal waste. So that was about 6-7 years ago when we started. In 2016 and 17, there were a slew of policies, as I said, solid waste management rules, Gujarat waste to energy policies, the tariffs got clear, the input system got cleared. So that is when we started developing projects. Of course, we were hampered by COVID for a year or more, because a lot of these projects need to be developed with foreign collaborations, partnerships. This is the first time these projects are happening in the country. So there needs to be cross-learning across. But I'm very happy that, Jamnagar has stabilized now. It's been running for more than 10 months. Suhagji knows in power industry, there is plant load factor. So we've already touched 80% plant load factor, which is, the highest possible in this sort of industry. And it's a beautiful feeling to see that waste come in every day and get used, get converted, and nothing going to landfill. I would invite all of you, if anybody is going to Jamnagar, please do contact us and we'll be very happy to organize a plant visit. We are also building plants in Ahmedabad, Rajkot and Baroda. So I think before March 24, we will start all these plants. This aggregate will be about 40% of Gujarat's municipal solid waste. So we are working to solve, 40-50% of the problem. So yeah, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. There is something little I would like to add to what Mr. Aditya shared with us, that unlike the US or many other European countries, we are not willing to pay for our garbage, which is largely true. But I would like to, Mr. Aditya, share with you that CEE has a project in northern India, mainly in Noida, wherein the HCL Foundation has funded us for cleanliness and wash and several projects. I'm happy to share with you that half of Noida today is absolutely clean because of the garbage pickers, as they were called, are now Safai Mitra. They all come to your house every day in uniform. नहा धो के आना पड़ता है, वो पहले साफ होंगे, बाद में आपकी गंदगी उठाएंगे, and you pay for it. Every individual household is happily paying, and they see the results. The Safai Mitra, when they get, you have to do sorting in your own house. If you give a mixed load, it will not be picked up, just the way Aditya ji said, that abroad when you have not separated, your beans are different. So one day blue bean goes, the second day maybe green bean goes. Likewise, if you have not segregated, Safai Mitra will not touch. You have to segregate, it's your own garbage. And then they happily take it and they resell, or rather they sell the sellable items like plastic and glass and all. They don't need to segregate it, it's given to them. And they make money out of that as well, and they charge you for picking that up. So it's a beginning, and things have started happening. And in Noida, every other sector is now going to this team of our officials, कि भाई हमारे यहाँ भी ये शुरू करवा दो. They are so happy because the whole area has become clean. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? If not, then we move forward. So we heard two buzzwords in this session. One was change of mindset, not small, but huge change of mindset. And the second one was shared responsibility. Each one of us, we need to take our responsibility very seriously if India has to take steps, giant steps on the road map that it has put up in COP27. આપણે જે નક્કી કર્યું છે એ કરવા માટે એક વ્યક્તિએ જે વાત થઈએ કે નાની લાઇટ પણ કારણ વગર ચાલુ ના રહે એટલી હદ સુધી આપણે વિચારવું પડશે. That is only the way forward because એકલું ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી, એકલું ગવર્મેન્ટ આ બધું જ નહીં કરી શકે. અને આપણે એવું માનવાની જરૂર નથી કે આપણે 2 ટન્સ પર છીએ એટલે હજી તો આપણે વર્લ્ડ એવરેજથી ઓછા છીએ કે આપણે 2.5ની વાત કરતા હોઈએ એના કરતાં ઓછા છીએ. Because in times to come, આપણે ત્યાં જે ડેવલપમેન્ટ થઈ રહ્યું છે એમાંથી ક્યાંય આપણે કૂદકો મારીને આગળ નીકળી જઈશું. So let us all contribute here to this step and only then India will progress. Thank you very much. Thank you for this very session. I thank on behalf of every one of us, I thank both the experts here, Aditya and Mr. Jani, for sparing their time and be with us. Thank you very much. Let us move on to the next session.
Thank you, Joshi sir, for the closing remarks.